Fact.
Okay.
Facts. So I got a lot of facts for you tonight, kid. You can blow your mind.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah.
You gave your tarp up on your bed because your mind's going to get blown all over your bed. Get blood
That
and
was the
guts all over.
stupidest
You
thing you've ever said.
can get blood and guts all over your bed from your mind. Guts in your mind. Fucking guts in your mind. Oh, it's so stupid. Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different album from a different artist and we break down the record. We do all the research we could possibly do. We find out all the secrets about these records, and then we let you all know because we're Asinine Radio. We're the greatest podcast you'll ever listen to. Go to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. Please, while you go onto Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Please, please, please do that. That would be the best thing you could possibly do besides listening. So we also have a phone number you can call, leave us a voicemail, send us a text message, whatever you want to do. We'll probably talk about it on the pod. We had somebody reach out to us a couple days ago about Devo. So, get into that. The phone number is 503-893-5307. We also have a Discord server if you want to join that. Hang out, talk, other people in the chat as well. Let us know. We'll send you the link. So that's all I got for the intro, the boring intro. Oh, my name's Tyler, and on the other end is Jeff. So there you go. So we're done with the intros, the boring intros. What album are we doing today, Jeff?
The Chronic.
By?
Oh, Dr. Dre.
Now, Jeff, what is your origin story with Dr. Dre? What do you got? Go.
My origin story with Dr. Dre is 2001. I think the first song I ever heard was Still Dre. And I remember, I don't know, somebody we were like 12 when this came out. And so
Yeah.
I remember somebody in middle school. I remember who gave it to me. It was this guy that used to live by my house. It was his brother. His brother's name was Raphael. And he had the album and he was always listening to it. And I liked going to, the fuck was it? I think his name was Olin and his brother's Raphael. And I liked going to their house because his brothers always had like really cool music on. And he let us hang out in his room. And he was like much older than we were. So that's like a lot of my hip hop early days was listening in Raphael's room. And it was Still Dre. And I was like, oh, this is really fucking cool. Like I don't really know what this sounds like. And going to camp, all they were playing was like punk rock of that time. Of like the mid to late 90s of like Dropkick and No Effects and stuff. That's all I really knew. And then listening to this, I was like, this is so fucking different. I don't know really what is going on, but I like what I hear. And he let me have the CD. And he's like, oh, just take it, dude. And because we live in the same complex. And he's like, yeah, just take it. And Raphael was so dope. I'm gonna ask my mom like who they were, where they moved to. I'm gonna find Raphael. I'm gonna thank him.
Was it a burn CD or was it
No, it was it was a straight up CD.
Wow, that's weird.
He had a lot of CDs, like Columbia House Records longtime member, a lot of CDs, like hundreds.
In your fucking Columbia House, man.
Dude, oh my God, that was unmatched. It was just, that was like the best thing that ever happened to music for children. It was great. But yeah, it was Still Dre. I didn't hear the Chronic until probably like late middle school. And then the first song I heard from the Chronic was Let Me Ride. And then that's when I realized, like, holy shit, the Chronic is where it's at. And after listening to the Chronic one time, and this was like 8th grade, late 8th grade, listening to the Chronic, I knew then and there that I will always be an advocate for the Chronic being the best thing that Dre's ever done. I still say that to this day because it is unmatched. It is so fucking good. And Let Me Ride is still my biggest song, my biggest banger, my number one song. I think it's
Damn.
absolutely perfect. And this album blew me away as a child. And when I bought it on the vinyls again in the past, I think I bought it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it blew me away again. And
fucking
I cannot believe it. I listened to so much hip hop this week. That's why my vinyl things were only like four deep, because I went back and listened to pretty much anything that I had in the 90s. I listened to again. I listened to my Far Side again. I listened to Lauryn Hill again. I listened to Bahamadia
I
again.
need to get Lauryn Hill.
I listened to a ton of shit again this week. Pretty much everything that I have in the 90s I listened to again this week, and it's just been just all hip hop all week, and it's been so goddamn good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh,
I love my little hip hop collection on vinyl.
it's growing,
I'm so
baby.
proud of it.
It's growing.
I'm so proud of it. I'm so
Hip
proud
hop's
of it.
hard because it's never cheap. It's never like dollar bin
No.
stuff. It's always $15 to $25 bin stuff.
Except for like Gigolo Tony, that was like $6.
Oh, and it's so good.
It's really good.
It's so good.
Oh man. Okay, so that's your origin story with Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
my-
Raphael, man.
Raphael, you got to look this guy up, man. Get him on.
I
the
know. I have
pod.
no idea what his fucking last name is. I'll ask my
I'm
mom.
sure
She'll
your mom
know.
knows.
Yeah.
She'll know. Moms know all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
the
fucking moms, dude.
Weirdest shit like that.
Useless information.
Oh man. Okay, so my origin story is guilty conscience. Fuck. Am I saying that right?
I'm your motherfucking conscience. It's nonsense.
Am I saying that right though? Guilty conscience.
Yeah, guilty
Conscience?
conscience.
Okay.
Are
yeah.
you
So
thinking
that-
conscience or conscious? Because conscious
Well-
is like conscious rap. You're
well, yeah,
awake.
they're two.
Conscience, I think, is spelled differently and different thing entirely.
It is. Yeah. It means something different. Yeah. Spelled, pronounced differently. Yeah. Anyway, that was my first introduction to Dr. Dre was that song, and it was, I mean, Eminem was blowing up at the time with that song as well as My Name Is, and that was the first Dr. Dre I'd ever heard. I don't even think I'd ever heard Straight Outta Compton or anything off of NWA or from NWA. But yeah, that video, I remember seeing the video for the first time. That was the first time I heard the song. Was the music video on MTV? It was on TRL. I remember that, and they only played part of it, and it was heavily censored. And I just thought it was the weirdest fucking song. The video is so dumb and so
The
of its
video's,
time.
I fucking love the video.
It's so
it was
of its
so
time,
awesome. I haven't seen
But
it
it's-
since
yeah,
like a kid, but it's probably really shit now. But
I watched it last week.
it's got the cool
Uh,
like slow motion bullet thing, right?
No, it's like the Matrix thing.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah,
they-
yeah.
It's like
Whatever
the
you
Matrix
call
thing
that.
where the person in the mainframe is just like frozen, and then Dre and Eminem are like walking around the person as his conscience, and they're just talking to him, and it's a silly video. But that was my introduction to Dre, and then Forgot About Dre came out, and that song obviously was just everywhere, and like I said earlier, just memorizing those lyrics so quickly, and just my friends and I fucking reciting it back and forth, and we still do it to this day. It's so dumb. But after that, after Forgot About Dre, I was never into hip hop until after high school. Like every once in a while I'd like a song, but for the most part I was kind of out of the whole hip hop game, rap game. So I didn't hear The Chronic in its entirety until probably right after high school, maybe the end of like our senior year of high school. And yeah, I don't know. I never really got into it until later on in my musical career. But yeah, Guilty Conscience was my starter song for Dr. Dre, even though it's not even a Dr. Dre song, but whatever. First thing I heard. First things first.
That's a perfect example of how Dre is good as a rapper, but he's great when somebody else is better than him. And like Eminem is so fucking good.
Yeah.
And Dre's fine. He's fine.
And it's not like I wasn't into hip hop in high school, but I only ever really listened to, like I mentioned earlier, 2001. I listened to that record a lot because everybody else is listening to it, and a lot of especially the singles on that record, are just iconic in hip hop history. I think more so on 2001 than The Chronic. There's so many more hits on that album than The Chronic. And then
I mean, like,
obviously some of the Eminem records I just listened to a lot of those as well. But outside of those two artists, I never really got into any sort of hip hop.
It's situational for sure though, because I mean I only got into hip hop heavily because everybody that I hung out with was like Mexican, Hispanic. Like everybody in my middle school and my elementary school was Mexican or Hispanic, and so they had a lot of older siblings that listened to hip hop exclusively. And so the only outlet I had that wasn't hip hop was camp, and that's when I got into more like pop punk and oldies and like acoustic stuff, and that's how I love Bob Dylan and all that stuff. So, I mean, the only two things I ever really listened to was either camp music and what I was exposed to there, and then going to friends' houses and have their older siblings always listen to hip hop. And so it's completely situational. Had I not grown up. Had I not grown up in that area, I don't think I would ever like when would I have been exposed to hip hop outside of that, you know? Like it's
true.
So I don't know. I don't know. I like a lot of hip hop, and even now I still like a lot of hip hop that would be deemed like bad, and I'm always like defending even to like my neighbors who don't like hip hop at all. And I'm always like defending different aspects of hip hop and things. And so it's just because I was exposed to it constantly, but without that exposure, I never would have picked up like a fucking, I don't know, the Chronic album. No way.
I know.
No way.
I
like
mean,
my mom listened to zero hip hop. Like she listened to Creedence, Offspring, Green Day, but never hip hop, country, never hip hop.
Yeah. Same with my mom. My mom never ever listened to hip hop music. Top 40 and classic rock. That was pretty much it. But yeah, no hip hop. She hated it, really hated it. But she liked some R&B of the '90s, but definitely not the hip hop. My dad never really. He was all talk radio, so got nothing from him.
That's such a dad thing,
dude. It's all KFI, man. Shit, man. Dr. Laura, John and Ken, Howard Stern, who was, and then what's his name? Rush Limbaugh. Fuck, man. It was all that shit back in the 90s. That's anyway. That's dad stuff.
Like I can't name 3 bands that my dad listened to. I can't even name 2. I know he liked the Manhattan Transfer, but that is it.
Of all bands,
he never listened to music ever, and I always thought that was so bizarre because, like I fucking like loved music and constantly like just digested music in various forms, and every time we got in the car, it was always quiet. No talk radio, nothing. It was just fucking quiet.
That's so bizarre.
I know. I always thought that was fucking weirred. What are you doing?
My dad did go through a Johnny Cash phase for like 2 years, but besides that, it was always KFI. I mean, every time we would get into the car, we would, because we at the time when growing up, we only had one car. So we would have to go pick up my mom from work, and then like my dad would work nights, my mom would work during the day, or vice versa. So we were always like commuting. My sister and I were always commuting with our parents to take one of them to work. And every time, even when my mom was in the car with my dad, it was always talk radio, like never music, because he was driving. So it was talk radio. It was KFI every fucking time. That's what I grew up on, and that's what I started listening to when I was an adult. When I started to
I hate it.
Be more conscious of the news and everything like that. I went to KFI. I mean, that's what I grew up on, and I still like some of the hosts. Some of them are great.
It's just
Rush Limbaugh was terrible, but
it's this natural reaction to inherently rebel against your parents, and then when you realize, like the Green Day song on Nimrod, where he says, "Oh my God, I'm turning out like my dad," like that. Yeah. Oh my God, dude, like that. Because I remember just going to college too, and in the mornings when I was taking morning classes, listening to KFI, and I remember it hit me. I was like, "Wow, no, I can't do this. I don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be my parents." But dude, that's what we do. That's what we know.
Yeah, you can't help it.
You can't help it.
Yep.
Through no fault of your own. That's just But it is kind of it is kind of gross when you first realize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
as a younger person.
Yeah. I tried to fight it, but you just can't.
You can't.
Just can't do it. It's weird. It's so weird. Anyway, so back to what are we doing?
Back again. Dr.
We
Dre
did
is back.
we did our intro, or we did our first impression.
First impressions.
Oh no, we didn't do our first
Origin
impression.
stories.
We did our origin story. Let's do our first impression of the Chronic, and then we'll get into our, if we have any stinkers. If not, then we'll get into our bangers. So what do you got? Go.
Yeah. So by the time by the time that I really got into, like, this is late 90s is when I really got into hip hop. So like 90, probably like when I was right before 2001 came out is when I really started to listen to hip hop. And then 2001 hit, and that's when I really wanted to search out new hip hop. So after that, there was like a 5-year period where I was just digesting so much hip hop. And then going into high school, it just like continued. And then I was going back and listening to all the stuff that I missed out on prior to that. And so when I first heard The Chronic, I thought it sounded like 2001, but more real, more. I mean, this is me coming from, I don't know any, because this is prior to like me just looking it up on my phone, who this guy is, where he came from, what he did. I didn't know it was a dude from NWA. I didn't know all the stuff with Death Row. I didn't know all the stuff with Suge Knight. I didn't know any of this. Death Row. DEF. Death Row. Yeah. Like Jethro, but Death Row.
Yeah.
It was really supposed to be called Def Row, like Def Jam, Death Row, but
No,
Death
it
Row.
wasn't.
Yeah.
No,
They wanted to call it like Death Row Records because it was supposed to be like an offshoot play on Def Jam, but somebody else owned. I swear, somebody else owned the name Death Row, and so they called it like Death Row. They spelled it differently. It's a Death Row, or it's like Def something. Fact.
Okay.
Facts. So I got a lot of facts for you tonight, kid. You can blow your mind.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah.
You gave your tarp up on your bed because your mind's gonna get blown all over your bed. Get blood and guts all over.
You ever said.
You can get blood and guts all over your bed from your mind. Guts in your mind. Fucking guts in your mind. What? Oh, it's so stupid. But yeah, that period was just me getting into a lot of hip hop, and I remembered listening to The Chronic, and I was like, holy fuck, this is so fucking good. I cannot believe how good this is. And this is, I mean, like, I didn't grow up in LA. I'm not African American. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I can't relate to the lyrics at all. And it was like strictly the sound. It was the sound. It was the difference in vocal deliveries between Snoop, between Corrupt, between Dre, who I never liked as a rapper, and I still think he is okay, like at best. But I was just really impressed with The Chronic. I was really impressed, and I didn't know that this was like his album. I see him on the cover, and I thought like, oh, that's cool that he has a band of guys, because I didn't know what a hip hop group was. It's just, oh, he's a bunch of guys playing, and they're just playing music, whatever. I don't know. I thought it was really cool. A lot of guys hanging out, making cool music. I thought it was dope.
All right, so my first impressions, I mean, like I said, I didn't hear The Chronic until late high school or maybe right after high school. And I mean, I instantly liked it because that was when I was getting more into the conscious hip hop. I was already kind of into that with Tone Deaf and stuff like that and some East Coast guys. But then I heard The Chronic, and that one just kind of, it's so funky at parts, and it's not, I mean, it is synth based, but it doesn't sound like it's synth based, which is really cool. I really like that. And we'll talk about Colin Wolfe because he's a huge part of this record, which I never knew. But otherwise, yeah, that was my first impressions, and I love this record ever since. I think the album artwork's terrible, but musically it's just fantastic. Some of the lyrics are, I mean, obviously they're stupid. There's some good, interesting stuff and some good stories in some of the songs, but sometimes it's just like a wank fest, which is, it's hip hop of the era. It's hip hop of the era, so you can't judge it too harshly, but you got 16 songs and, 13 of them are all a wank fest. It's kind of boring, lyrically at least. But musically, fucking solid stuff, and just reading about all the back end of it and how it was made was really, really interesting. But yeah, that's my first impressions. I was an adult when I heard this for the first time. So I don't have any stinkers besides the skits. Skits don't count. But do you have any stinkers?
No, I don't have any stinkers. Even the skits, I don't think are stinkers, except for the doctor's office. I think that's just dumb. That's the only that's the only skit that I really, really wish I could just skip. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is very stupid.
It's cringy and dumb and completely outdated and just God, it was so. Why did people do that shit in the 90s? It was so fucking annoying. I didn't even like it in the 90s.
Well, even the $20 sack pyramid, that one was really dumb too.
That's a little bit more thought out though than just I'm having sex with somebody while someone else is trying to talk to me. Like that's so. Dude, come on, guy. I get it.
I know.
I get it. Come on. But no, I don't have any. I don't have any stinkers.
So how many bangers do you have though?
I have a lot of bangers. I have like 10. I think I have 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 8, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. 8 of them, 8 and 10. So should we get into what we already played, the Nothing But a G thing?
Yeah. Let's get into Nothing But a G thing. That's my 2B.
What is that? Where does it sit? Oh, it's your 2B. Okay, that's my 3B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my 3B. So what do you got on this one musically and everything like that?
Well, let me just say that I don't think this is the best, but this is top 3 best gangster rap songs of all time. Easy.
Correct.
Hands down. Yes. I think it's so it like perfectly captures what he was going for in the mid 90s. And
Agreed.
Again, from an outsider reading, watching things and going back and watching the LA riots and reading blurbs from the people who were running their mouth, Mr. Daryl Gates fucking running his fucking mouth in the 90s. This song is a good representation of what like gangster life was probably like in the mid 90s. And
just living in the neighborhood, it seems like.
I think this is probably like besides like Fuck the Police, which I think is the greatest gangster rap song of all time. I think it's be number 2. That is number 2.
I would agree, but they're like very different sounding song, like very like I hate using the word, but very different vibe wise, because obviously G thing is very subdued. It's not aggressive. It's more laid back. It's more hanging out with your buddies and
one's offensive and one is like defensive. Or like Fuck the Police is offensive. It's aggressive. It's calling somebody out, whereas Nothing But a G thing is just giving you a glimpse of that life of explaining what is going on, happening. Much like Let Me Ride is kind of in that same vein. Nothing But a G thing. It's just, but damn, dude,
and the video like goes along with the song really well. Like it really puts you, the video really puts you in that.
I love these
scene.
videos. I love these videos. They're so fucking. They're the perfect amount of dumb and scary at the same time. Like I fucking love them.
The perfect
so
amount
good.
of 90s. Perfect amount of 90s right there.
And
even though we never grew up in these kind of areas ever.
No, and like even in the 90s, like we were born in 87, so like we really grew up in like the late 90s, early 2000s is when our formative years really happened. Like growing up in the early, we were fucking 5 in the early 90s. You know what I mean? Like we didn't grow up in the 90s.
We didn't know what was going on with the riots.
We're not like 90s kids. We're like late 90s, early 2000s kids, to be fair. But this song's cool because Dre holds back that high Moog synth sound, like just enough. You hear it and then it's gone. And he holds it back and you fucking want it so bad because we're 5 songs deep already. So you know what's happening. Dre's already dropped, The Chronic, Fuck with Dre, Let Me Ride. These are all banger after banger after banger. And then Nothing But a G thing happens. And then he slowly eases you back into that but he does it an octave lower.
It's
lower first. And so you hear it again like, oh, like that's all we're going to get. And then right after that, blows you up with it. And it knocks you on your ass. It's so fucking great. And then like above all else, what this album has is that swing to it. He's taking a lot of like the Parliament, the Funkadelic stuff, because those all had really great swing. Vocals aside, their drumming and the bass lines, the rhythm section always had a good swing to them. And sometimes it'd be a little faster, it'd be a little bit slower, but you could always just kind of like slowly nod your head to them. And that's what this album has in its entirety, is a good swing to it. And Nothing But a G thing has a perfect swing to it. And there's cool scratching. There's cool DJing
and
on this one.
and it starts out with the percussion, with the what is that that stupid that what's that instrument? The oh my god, what is that instrument called?
The fuck?
It's the first thing in the song. It's the thing that opens up the song. That percussive instrument. Not a cowbell. It's obviously not a cowbell. It's not a shaker. What is that?
What the hell? What is it? I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what it's like a Latin instrument, but what the fuck is it? I can't even think right now. But it's such
I thought
a cool way
there's probably just a button on the keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised how much synth there actually was. Like there were a lot of this record, at least the stuff with Colin Wolfe, I thought those were actual, like it was somebody actually playing the bass, but it was all done on a Moog, on a synthesizer.
Well, he did play a lot of the bass on this. He did play. Like that wasn't
true,
the direct samples, but besides the bass and then the flute, there was everything else was digital.
Yeah, and it worked so well. And my God, I was very surprised overall in this record how much Dre pulled from Parliament and Funkadelic. I had no idea that. I mean, obviously everybody was a fan of George Clinton and all that kind of stuff back in the day, but to use and sample as much as he did on this record was really cool. I really, really dug that.
I think that was like a calculated effort on him, is to create a new sound. He was taking the P-Funk sound and Gangster it to create the G-Funk, and like I don't know, just to even being in the mindset of, hey, I'm going to create a new sound on top of an already emerging genre, which was hip hop in general, which had barely been around 10, 15 years. And especially like gangster rap, which had just broken the ice years earlier, not even years earlier. And so now he's taking it and creating an entirely new sound, and doing that deliberately, not accidentally, just shows like the genius in Dr. Dre.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of cool too, knowing how his background was. He was DJing for local radio for K-Day back in Los Angeles, and he kind of came up with that, and then he joined what was it? Not the Wrecking Crew. What was it?
Yeah, the World Class Wrecking Crew.
Well, it was a World Class Wrecking Crew, yeah. So he joined that group, which was essentially like a pop soul funk group. So he kind of had his foot in that genre, in that era of Parliament and Funkadelic. But then it's the genius of translating that or mixing that with Grandmaster Flash and everything that hip hop was doing at the time was so genius.
I mean, he had a great platform, because NWA is just, I mean, they're like one of the coolest things to ever come out of hip hop. And then he also kind of had, unfortunately, a lot of source material with the LA riots, with the Rampart scandal, with the crash unit, with the militarization of the LAPD. He had a lot of source material just getting shit on by his city. And so all of these factors led to him just kind of just being fucking really irritated and really tired of just life in general and everything, and coming out with an album that blew people's minds, even still to this day. And my God, I read so much about like the LA riots and Chief Gates and just all of, God, that guy said so many stupid fucking things. He was such an idiot.
Yeah.
It's all on him, dude. It was all his fault. Like 100%. Daryl Gates is like the worst police chief that has ever been in the United States. He is so fucking awful. Like the dude did not care about minorities clearly at all.
Yeah.
Even going as far to say that like when you choke a black man, they will die quicker because they are just made differently. Like these are things that he would say.
That's unfucking believable.
Man, he was nuts. He was at like a dinner party trying to like get reelected or some shit while the LA riots were going on. Didn't even fucking care. He's like, oh, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, the riots.
Oh, what a knucklehead, man.
Yeah, we were way too young for that. We didn't understand that. 5 years old, we didn't understand that stuff.
No, but you hear people talk about the LA riots and you know, like we don't know what like a real riot is like until like recently until like 2020, 2021. And we don't
Yeah.
even know like how bad the LA riots were because we were way too young. And then when we hear people talk about it, it's never as horrible as the way they talk about it. You know, like even like people talking about war stories, it's impossible to put yourself in their shoes to really gauge how horrible it was. But the more the more you read about it and just, I don't know, how hard it was for people in LA to just like get to work, to do anything. And then you watch like the Rodney King video again. And I watched that this week and I was just
fucked,
like, God damn, bro. Like, are you kidding me? And then all 4 of them were acquitted, right? None of them got in trouble.
It's unbelievable.
It's like, dude,
and with actual video evidence, you know,
you're trying to kill him. Like you were literally trying to kill this dude. Like it's on video, and still nobody fucking cares. And so, like, what are you supposed to do? Like when you feel you live in a city that has completely taken away your voice, and you feel you have nothing, you have no other options. Like, how do you blame people for that? You can't at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this guy, Daryl Gates, man, oh Jesus, just read some of the shit that came out of his mouth and how unempathetic it was. It's like a fucking movie. He's like a villain in a movie.
Is he still alive?
No, he's
I
dead.
wonder. He's dead.
He's dad.
Don't.
Yeah, he probably lived a great life too. Fucking after that.
Oh yeah, pension, all that
Wiener.
kind of shit. Protected by other politicians. Totally.
I mean, he retired after the Rodney King the beating and the riots came out. He retired after that, but. Whew.
But yeah, he probably still lived like a pretty good life after that, even after all the shit that went down.
What a knucklehead.
Yeah, seriously. So musically also on this one, I thought this was really interesting. This is Snoop Dogg came up with his idea for his first verse while he was in jail. And what he did was he was trying to call Dre, and Dre didn't pick up, and was it Warren G? I can't even remember right now, but it might have been Warren G. Picked up the phone, and Snoop had said, you know, I have this idea for a song. I'm just going to do it over the phone, and let me know if you think Dre will like it. And it was the first verse to this song, and like I said, I think it was Warren G. I could be wrong. He said, no, Dre's going to love it. You know, when you're out, let's record it. And then so they ended up recording his part 3 different times after he got out of jail. The first time though, but then the first time they recorded it, they had accidentally left the reel inside of a car, so it damaged it and ruined it. So then they re-recorded it, and then they accidentally erased it, and they recorded it a 3rd time, and that's what you finally hear on the actual record. Is the 3rd
so
or technically
good.
4th or technically the 4th iteration of that verse, of Snoop's verse. That's pretty crazy. I thought that was a cool story that I read.
Yeah,
But
it's cool that, man, just like the way NWA just kind of crumbled because of Suge Knight, essentially, and Jerry Heller, and the way NWA crumbled, and then the way Dre thought he was making a name for himself, but really just kind of under the supervision of Suge. And I honestly, if it wasn't for Snoop and coming in and being so different, like I don't know if Dre would have got the confidence to go off and make his own label, or if he would have just stayed under death row and still been under like Suge's supervision, because I think Snoop pushed Dre to be better because Snoop's flow was still bad at that time, but you could tell he's trying a lot harder than he, 10 years later.
yeah.
And so I think Snoop pushed Dre to just be better, to let Snoop do his thing, to let his flow just kind of happen, and let's meet at the end. But also to take a back seat. You don't have to be rapping on every single song. And Dre doesn't rap on every single song. And so I don't know, man. Like I think that Snoop being on this album and then Snoop taking off, and then with Doggy Style and 213 and all the stuff that Snoop did after this, I think that helped Dre a lot.
Oh, totally. It totally did. But
So I
then there
think
would be
Dre-
no Snoop without Dre, though. That's the thing too.
Yeah, I'm fine
Like,
with that.
there's no way Snoop would have been able to reach the levels he has without Dre, without
I'm
the Chronic.
And I'm fine with
There's
that.
no way.
I'm cool with that. I'm fine
Yeah,
with,
no, I am too.
with that, because
they needed each other. Honestly, on this record, they needed each other because not only was it just his weird vocal style, his weird vocal delivery and sound, but it was also the difference in sound too. Because Dre obviously has the deeper, more aggressive voice, and then Snoop comes along and it's high pitched. It's like, what the fuck? It's like listening to Be Real for the first time, but less obnoxious because Be Real is like really fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But Snoop has this I mean, it's not the greatest flow, but he has his own style, and it just sounds so good with his voice, and I don't know. And then hearing the back and forth between the two of them, and then on this song, they each have their own verse, but then there's another verse where it's both of them on it, and it's kind of like a little back and forth, and that happens a few times on the record as well. But it's like the Tom and Mark thing. You get the high and the low, and that's what that makes some of the best Blink songs are the ones where Tom and Mark sing.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea with this. It's the high and the low of the two vocalists.
I think Snoop also brought a fuck ton of weed into the studio, and for whatever it's worth, Dre had claimed like he doesn't smoke on songs prior to this came out. He said, "I don't need weed to alter my mind," and I don't know if that's true or not, but that he said it. It was said. So
yeah.
But Snoop brought a lot of fucking weed and kind of like a fuck you attitude, and Suge's a scary guy, man. He was a scary fucking guy.
Oh yeah, I would not want to fuck with him.
But this is
terrifying.
But don't forget, this is a guy that got Eazy-E to sign over the rights for Dre, and Eazy-E was the only true like banger of NWA. The only person with a rap sheet, the only person really out there slanging rocks and being like a true gangster was Eazy.
Yeah.
And Suge got him to sign the rights away, and no one really knows what happened because it was like closed doors, and Suge showed up with a bunch of guys and he left with that contract, and that's not even a legally binding contract anyway. You can't sign something under duress or force, but it happened, and Dre left Ruthless and went to Death Row. So that's scary.
Think
that's
about how
fucking
terrifying
scary.
that would be for it's
A
terrifying.
hardened gang, when a hardened gang member is afraid of somebody, then like know that guy's just bad, and that's why Dre ended up fucking leaving Death Row because Suge was too violent. He didn't like it. He's like, dude, this is too crazy even for me.
Yeah, he's a psychopath. Is he still?
And
alive,
he was he's in prison. I mean, dude, that was like 3 years ago. He ran over those two guys in his car.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, forgot.
The dude's a fucking psychopath, and he's probably listening to
is.
this in prison because he's in prison, fucking over by TJ, like straight out of he's like miles above the border in Mexico, like San Diego, really south. Yeah. So at some point, El Chapo gonna get broken out of prison. I'm sure
he's gonna escape.
Dude, and he's fucking gonna listen to this and come kill me in my sleep.
Probably.
Oh my god, dude! And then like all the threats and coercion I've just read about Suge Knight this week. The dude is just terrifying, and I never knew. And I don't know. Legend says that he once held Vanilla Ice outside of a balcony by his legs to try and get him to sign his rights away. Fuck, man.
That's really scary.
Scary dude. Yeah, he showed up to Vanilla Ice's like hotel room with his cronies, and then one of the guys from like the Los Angeles Raiders at the time, and like just the power that this guy had over people, and
yeah, that I'd be scared to ever meet him, to be in the same room as him. He has that, and he's a big guy. He's probably what, like 6'7", 6'8",
yeah,
probably pushing 400 pounds. He's fucking big.
Same age as Dre, like same fucking age as Dre. So like, I
think Dre's late 50s, 56, 57.
That's scary, man. That's scary, and I don't know, just to go from Ruthless, which was Eazy's company, and Jerry Heller was the manager for Eazy and NWA kind of, and then after realizing that Jerry was kind of stealing from, that's when Ice Cube left and went strictly for Priority Records, and then Suge came and said, let me look over those contracts, and then told Dre, like, no, this guy's fucking you. I'm going to get you out of your contract. Come sign with me. That was another thing. And then for like Suge to post up the $1 million bail for Pac to get Pac over to Ruthless, and then for essentially Suge Knight to completely call out P. Diddy and said, if y'all want to make videos without your manager in them all the time, come over to Death Row. That's fucking bullshit. And igniting a war essentially. Dude, the guy just had no boundaries. He was completely fearless.
Yeah.
That's scary stuff. And then like just reading about random people he beat the shit out of just for no fucking reason, then just being in like the wrong place at the wrong time and just like putting people close to death just because. Yeah. Because
And it kind of made me think too this week how, Tupac and Biggie died so young in the 90s, but why, I mean, of all the people to take out, why wouldn't you take out Suge Knight?
They tried. They tried to take out Suge when they killed Pac. Suge was shot up too.
But I'm kind of wondering.
It's too fucking big.
But it just seems so suspicious. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's why after Tupac died in the 7 Day Theory, the Don Kill, the one that you got fired for buying for me, that album. There's a part in there where people think that Pac is saying Suge shot me, like he's whispering Suge shot me. Because there's conspiracies that think that Suge is the one that set him up, which doesn't make any sense because Pac was the fucking hottest thing that Death Row had at the time. After Pac died, I mean, that's clear as fucking day that Death Row is going to crumble. It's going to completely go away.
But also with Tupac, depending on what kind of contracts were signed, it could in the end make him more money if he's dead.
Yeah, but Dre was already leaving. He was gone.
Yeah.
So it was just Dre, and plus Snoop was gone. I mean, Dre leaves, fucking Snoop's not going to hang around. He was on contract with Death Row. So Snoop's gone, Dre's gone, Pac's dead. It's like, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Ooh.
Okay, so what song should we talk about? Your 1B?
Oh yeah, Let Me Ride.
Let's get into that then. That's also my 1B. So
oh,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's my 1B as well.
It's so good.
It's really good. It's amazing. And I was watching a video that Colin Wolfe, he did like some, I don't know, I guess seminar where he talked about like the making of the Chronic and everything, and he was showing the audience how he wrote the bass line with the melody, the high melody on the synthesizer, and he had some like guy come out and play the drum beat for him, and then he just like played along with the bass, and then he played the melody part. It was just so cool. Just so cool watching him just kind of recreate it right then and there. I don't know. This song is just so, it's the perfect amount of just that P-Funk sound. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a little bit faster too, a little bit more up tempo than a lot of the songs on the record, which is exciting too. I love it. The video is great. Forget about it.
Did you ever see the Straight Outta Compton movie?
No, I have not. I didn't watch it.
It was good. I saw years ago when it came out, and there's a part in the movie where Dre's like writing for the Chronic album after he leaves NWA and goes Ruthless, and he's writing the Chronic album. He has the little the keyboard in front of him, and he has that noise, that Moog, that high synth noise, that iconic G-Funk sound noise, and you can tell that he's trying to get something going, and it sounds like ain't nothing but or nothing but a G thing, and he's getting close to it, but he never quite gets the exact notes that you hear in the song. But it was just a really, really cool clip of the movie, and it was like 20 seconds long of him fiddling around with that noise, and you're like, oh my god, he's so close to writing nothing but a G thing. Oh, it's so cool. And like that part of the movie is probably my favorite part of the entire movie, because he's so close to getting it. And then the movie like it cuts to a different scene and he stops playing, and you're like, oh my god, he was so close. But he gets it. He gets it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that oh, it's so good. You should watch the movie. It's really cool, especially after this week.
I know, yeah. I should have watched it prior to the episode, but whatever.
Yeah, you should have. Actually, you should have done some more fucking homework.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yeah, but Let Me Ride, dude. Fantastic bass line. A fucking unbelievable bass line. There's a lot of layering going on, too. Like the bass line's under a fast drum beat in the verse, and then it's slowed down in the chorus. That again, that G-Funk high squeal sound. But then there's that faint piano in the back, and the piano's kind of verbed up, and it just like chords is ringing out, and just that kind of layering, which all doesn't even like make sense. It's just all thrown together, and it seems like some jalopy of a sound, but he pulls it off. And this is probably the only time ever in Dre's career where I think he can carry the song perfectly in his raps. Otherwise, I think he's more of a co-star than a carrier, like a Will Ferrell of rapping. I don't think he's good in the front.
I can see that.
I think he's more of a partner. But this is the only time that I think he's absolutely perfect. Like this, man, the sound of Let Me Ride and his vocal delivery is absolutely perfect.
And also Snoop Dogg he's not very prominent. He's on the song, but he's not prominent. He's more of a background, more of a hype man for Dre, but not like Flavor Flav hype man. He's just subtly there to kind of raise him up a bit, and have Dre
rolling
shine.
in my 6'4".
It was like it's the perfect amount of Snoop Dogg to accommodate Dre. on this song. It's such a well-made song, and dude, everything about it is, I love it. I think it's honestly the best song on the record.
It's the best song, dude. The chorus is absolutely fantastic. The transition from the verse to the chorus when it goes dun, 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 and then goes back into
dude,
it.
I love that part.
It's so goddamn cool. I love when they all say 187 and you hear Snoop 187. His little skinny bony ass 187. Oh, it's so fucking good. I say it like that every single time I listen to the song. I say it in my high pitched voice. I put my little hand up all like decrepit and high, like 187.
Oh my god, no.
Oh, it's so good. Love it.
And then there's a couple female singers on this one, and one of them is Jewel. And I thought it was Jewel, like the singer songwriter Jewel.
Oh,
until I clicked through the link, and I'm like, oh wait, this is not it. Because I listened and like nothing about this sounds like Jewel. I thought maybe Dre had discovered her or something, but then obviously I clicked through and it was not the same Jewel at all, and I was embarrassed for myself.
I mean, you should be embarrassed, like thinking that it was the same Jewel for sure.
I know. I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know. It's stupid. Very stupid.
Actually, it's stupid.
It's pretty stupid. It's pretty fucking stupid. It's stupid. Okay, so let's play a little bit of "Let Me Ride," and then we'll get into some of the lyrics and go on from there. So Here it is, "Let Me Ride," the best song off of The Chronic by the Dr. Dre's. There you go, "Let Me Ride" from Dr. Dre, the best song on The Chronic. All right, so what do we got? What do you have lyrically on this one?
I mean, just like he just said, just another day. This is his life. It's a way for Dre to flex his power, as well as kind of give us a glimpse of where he's from and what the CPT is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I got too. Driving around town, just kind of going into the more dangerous parts, knowing not to fuck with him because he's gonna either whoop your ass or kill you. That's what it is.
I mean, that's like
arrogance.
Why humans consume media and the purpose behind it, whether it be movies or music, is just to take us out of our world and put us into the world of somebody else or something else. And I mean, that's why from like just folklore, right? Just passing stories down from generation to generation. That's what we like. That's what humans generally like. And that's what "Let Me Ride" is taking yourself out of your life and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and what life is like in the middle of fucking Compton in the 90s, which by all accounts was probably a horrible, horrible time to grow up in.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I still just can't get around like how far we've come as a society, but still how much we still have to go. But my God, just watching that Rodney King video again this week, because I haven't watched that video since I started the police academy, and before then it was since high school. And so just watching it again, it gets worse every time. The older I get, and I watch it again, it just gets fucking worse and worse and worse. And it's just
I haven't watched it
so
in years.
Fucking bad. Like, oh my God, it's so bad. Like, you got to watch after the pod's over, and you just what police do now compared to what they did to that dude is it's so mild. I mean, they just fucking killed the dude, and that's why half our country rose up and rioted. But it's very, very, very bad.
Yeah, I should have read more about the riots again. I haven't read about them in a long time, but yeah, and like I said, I haven't watched that video in years and years and years.
And then
it's
like
fucking
the whole
brutal though.
And the whole what's that dude's name? Reginald Denny. Remember that dude that got pulled out from his truck and was beaten by the four guys, and like one guy dropped the cinder block on his head. It was all captured by the news chopper, and the entire time,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the entire time they're wondering, like, "Where's the fucking police? Where's the police?" Well, they didn't go there. They're done. They're like, just let the rioters do their thing. They'll kill each other. They'll die out, and it just like that mindset. That was the police chief's mindset. Just let those. By all accounts, Daryl Gates, like for sure, just thought that they were animals. Let those animals deal with each other. Don't waste police time dealing with them. Let them do it themselves. Let's put our efforts into actual places, into the rich areas of LA. And so it's just, I don't
That's
know,
where
man.
the
Like,
taxes come from. So I mean,
yeah, and this is after a Prop 13 passed in California that made it so that your property taxes won't increase by more than like 1% or some shit. And that was in like I think that was like 1980.
mhm.
And so, power is kind of coming back to the rich at that point, because if your property taxes don't increase by more than 1% a year, you can't get more money for whatever
Yeah,
you want to
exactly.
do. And so it's oh my God, it's so bad. And LAPD was the first. So like Daryl Gates started SWAT, right? SWAT was his thing, and LAPD was the first police union or whatever to militarize in the entire United States. So they got all the best gear, they got the high-powered rifles, they got the SWAT vehicles, the whole crash unit, right, and the whole Rampart unit. And then Suge from Death Row was hiring off-duty LAPD officers who were also involved in like the Rampart scandal, that were involved in the crash unit. And he was hiring these off-duty LAPD officers to essentially be enforcers to him signing new talent, or to put away rivals, like even rival gangs. And like, dude, Suge had fucking the police under his thumb. He had the Crips, the Bloods, music. The guy fucking ran LA for 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, he really
Good
did.
Lord.
I mean, I don't know all of the details, but no, he was highly influential. Fucking nuts.
There's a whole lot of conspiracies of him, and like the Rampart scandal was essentially cops trying to put out hits because of like the Bloods and the Crips, that they are killing gang members. And I mean, dude, and then Daryl Gates again. Oh my God, I cannot stand this guy. I fucking hate this guy so much. And then Daryl Gates comes out and says anybody that uses drugs should be like killed. Should be dead. You're a traitor to America, and you should just be killed. It's like, dude. And he gets away from like the community-oriented policing, where you get the community involved in like policing, and he just basically wanted just a complete brute force. Let's just put, for every one person, let's just put a bunch of cops on him and just lock him up, throw away the key. Like that, just man, that just did not work at all.
Well, clearly, yeah, no, it's terrible. I mean, it's just absolutely.
And
it's
then
unbelievable that it was not even that long ago. I mean,
I
30
know
years ago, but it's not that long ago.
But
It's
like
fucking wild.
all that the entirety of like demilitarized the police is because of this guy. This guy set precedent for essentially the police. And I don't know, man. There's just two big camps of policing, right? Community origin policing, or just basically proactive or reactive. Whereas if somebody commits a crime, you come down on them really, really fucking hard to deter anybody else, as opposed to like proactive, where you get involved with the community, figure out where the problem areas are, and figure out how you can stop those problem areas from ever becoming problem areas. And it's just, I'm not here to say which one's right or wrong. It's just clearly one doesn't work. So
Yeah, it's very, very true.
never fucking worked. I don't know if the other one works, but we know this one doesn't work.
Yeah, and what it comes also down to is money, and then you throw corruption in there. You know, only so much can be done if it's not funded. You know, so.
And that's what, man. Dude. That's what's so great about. That's what's so great about Dre, is because he did the chronic of the corruption and the shit in the 90s, and then he comes full circle and does the soundtrack to the album, right?
Yeah, soundtrack to the album. Yes,
soundtrack to the album, and he comes back and he puts like Kendrick. And I mean, I fucking love Kendrick Lamar. I absolutely love him.
You do.
He's from Compton, and like things haven't really changed, and like it's a lot safer now, I guess, than the 90s, but you're still at like a disadvantage. And Dre he gets a little deep in this album sometimes, where there's some type of like self-fulfilling prophecy as far as growing up in Compton. People say you ain't nothing, so you become nothing, and you embrace the nothingness, and then it's just this cyclical event. And for him to do that on the soundtrack to the album of the movie with Kendrick Lamar is just such a cool like passing of the torch. And I fucking love Kendrick Lamar. He's so good. He's so fucking good.
Yeah, he's good. He is good.
God damn. Right. Like one of the greatest rappers in history. He top 10 for sure.
Ugh, dude, get
absolutely. Hands down.
He's good, but I mean, he's good. Whatever.
Oh,
we
dude,
talked
that's-
we talked about that. We talked about that a lot when we did that Kendrick Lamar episode.
I know. I just can't get over just how even like when NWA did "fuck the police" and then the FBI sent him a letter saying, "Hey guys, you shouldn't fuck the police because we don't like that." And then they go on tour and essentially read the letter to every crowd that they send, and then the next song they play is "fuck the police."
Mm-hmm.
And then even
But
like
then
police,
they only ever did one tour too, because the police refused to provide any sort of security.
yeah,
So they pretty much had to cut their tour short.
or they'd arrest every single person that left the building for any kind of infraction. And
Yeah, true.
but that was also a time where I feel like the police just did whatever the fuck they wanted, like literally just
Oh yeah, totally.
like
Totally.
racial
'Cause there's
profiling, doing
There
whatever
was
the
no
fuck they wanted.
repercussion. There was no repercussion at all. I mean, when you think about it, it was only 20 years or a little over 20 years after like segregation ended. So it's not that. I mean, the old guard of police were still there. They're still going to be racist. It's not going to change overnight, especially back then. It's fucking wild.
And if you just like look up the top like 10 biggest or notorious or dangerous gangs in the U.S., half of them started in L.A. in like the 70s.
Mhm.
So
yeah,
like what is going on with L.A.? Like what is happening? Why? Like come on. If half of the MS-13, if the 18th Street, like these fucking worldwide notorious gangs that have like connections to the cartel, if they're starting in L.A., something is happening in L.A. that isn't working. And this guy, Daryl Gates, comes in and just fucking makes it all worse.
yeah, definitely.
Because, I mean, LA's not new to riots, right? The Watts riots, they're not new to fucking riots.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But to fan the flames is just it's unreal. It's unfucking
It's
real.
idiotic, honestly.
It
I
truly
don't
is
know.
like, dude, he's like a
LA
fucking villain. I cannot believe
LA
it.
is such a terrible place, man. Like LA sucks.
It
really
does. It
does.
sucks. It should be, honestly,
fucking
LA should
sucks.
be the greatest city on earth. It
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
It's perfect
Theoretically,
weather.
it should be. Yeah. But it has like one of the most corrupt governments in the United States. I just, it doesn't make any sense. And it kind of makes you curious, like, is it so corrupt because not just the politics, but also because of Hollywood? Because Hollywood has so much power? Is there something there? I don't know. It's weird. I fucking hate LA.
I think like in his song Little Ghetto Boy, where that's the song I think that he was kind of talking about growing up in the hood and being stuck in that self-fulfilling prophecy of not amounting to anything. And it's that was the cycle of ghettos in the 90s and like again in the militarized LAPD era of the 90s, our system is still meant to make the poor continuously be poor forever. Like it's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
If you grow up poor, it's so fucking hard to not continue to be poor for the rest of your life. That's just the way our system is
True,
set up.
yeah.
That's why rent's so goddamn high. So you can't save any money. Single parents, they're doomed. But I can't even imagine what it was like in LA for any person of color in the 90s. And
Or
that's
80s, especially. Like the 80s were the worst. Like the crime rate in the 80s in LA was just astronomical. It wasn't until the 90s where it started to begin to dip. But the 80s were definitely the most dangerous part of LA. Not even just for the for minority groups, but also just everybody in general. Like it was like the fucking Wild West. You read any story about anywhere, and even on Sunset Strip, it was the fucking Wild West. And that was like, it was a much different scene on the Sunset Strip, but everywhere in LA was fucking wild.
I think that's true. I think like racial tensions were higher in the 80s and the 90s. I think the only difference between the two, and again, like this is just from what I read. I have no idea what it was like. It wasn't there. But I think the only difference is now, like where the 80s were a level playing field, now the 90s had the police they're clearly at an advantage over everybody else, and now they're flexing that advantage in an unlawful and immoral way. And I think that's what separates like the 90s is you're essentially being picked on by your own government. specifically. Like they're not even
or
hiding
at
it
least,
at this point.
or at least it's out in the open. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
you were always getting picked on, but this is televised now. This is
Now
it was
they're
like
fucking hiding. They don't even try to hide it.
it was like, when with the Vietnam War, it was so unpopular because it was the first war that was televised. And I feel like in the late 80s, early 90s, that's when everything started to be televised within LA. And then the Rodney King riots were way more televised than the Watts riots were, like way more. And the political push on Rodney King was way more than it was for the Watts. Same area, what, like 10 year different, or maybe 12-year difference, right? Because Watts was like late 70s, right? 78, 79,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, just television wise and news wise and all that kind of stuff, the Rodney King riots had way more, television exposure than Watts did.
I mean, don't
So
forget,
I think
too, like
that's
the
a
80s,
big part of it too.
the 80s had just, I mean, LA was so unestablished at this point, like in the 80s, and there were so many subcultures coming up from the 70s. And like I said, I was, like this week, I was just reading a lot about gang culture in general.
Yeah.
And I was fucking surprised by how many gangs start. There's essentially 3 cities, right? There's Chicago, New York, and LA. But
Yeah.
a lot of the biggest gangs that are just, because Renee watches a lot of these, the prison shows, like Stuck in Prison. What do they call it? I don't know, Locked Up or whatever. And like the biggest gangs in prison are also like the biggest gangs outside of prison. And a lot of them started in LA in the 70s. And so, like, if these gangs are starting in the 70s, the 80s is when they're really trying to get their foothold in to establish themselves. But I think the police at that time just were indifferent. Whereas in the 90s, I think they made it a mission to purposely go after, honestly, people of color, like straight up
I think
black
you're right,
guys.
yeah.
Like that's exactly who they were targeting. Oh, and another thing about Daryl
I think
Gates,
a lot of it. What?
I just remembered he fucking started DARE, the DARE program. Remember DARE?
Did he? No way. Did he really?
Yeah. Yes.
No shit. The biggest fucking scam racket you could possibly have.
Oh my God, he started
Wow.
DARE. Yeah, I forgot to tell you about that one. That was a good one.
Wow.
This guy
Holy
was a
shit.
fucking asshole, dude. This guy was just oh my God, he's like the poster child for smoke and mirror politician. Just did nothing and just said all of these fucking words that were completely meaningless. You would love this guy. You would love to hate him, I should say.
Oh yeah,
You would
love to hate him.
him.
I wouldn't
Dude,
love him. Yeah, I'd love to hate
You
him.
got like after this week, just read up on Daryl Gates and all the bullshit that he said. How many
I've
people
never.
just, oh, it's so funny.
I remember. I do remember when I was a kid. Somebody in my class. It was like second grade, and her dad was a detective for LAPD, and for a fucking field trip, we took a field trip to LAPD, like downtown LA police station, and we did like a tour of the police station, and I remember like everybody's parents went because they were all terrified. Of
course.
Because this is right up, because riots were in 92. This is probably 94. So this is like right after the riots had finished.
Fuck that, dude.
And we went on a field
Why?
trip. I don't know. But we took a bus out to LA and we did a tour of LAPD. And my mom was there. Everybody, all the parents were there because they were scared. Honestly, they were fucking scared. And then remembering now, it wasn't that scary, especially comparing it to now. Like LA now compared to LA in 1994, LA now is just fucking terrible. Like it's crazy.
I think now that we're older, we're less afraid of like the black guy in the shadows mugging us at night because we realize that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's not like a thing. Yeah.
Now but that's what we're fucking told. Like growing up is some guy in the shadows always, I don't know. I grew up in a very Mexican neighborhood, and that there was nobody else except for Mexicans and some white people like me, and so I just like I didn't even hang out with like anybody else outside of the race until like middle school, really, because elementary school was that's all that there was. But we're told from such a young age to look out for somebody in the shadows. But then now that we're older, we realize that LA is bad because like it's oppressive. It's completely oppressive by their government. And I mean, not that we do anything to help it, but they just take it. They fucking just take it. And they've been taking it since, I don't know, 70s, I
70s?
guess.
Yeah. Man, it's a wild time. we've gone. I mean, a lot of this stuff needs to be discussed when we're talking about somebody like Dr. Dre or NWA, but we really kind of went off there.
Well, that's exactly what makes like this era of gangster rap so important to music, because it's finally, and that's what like writing is. Writing is a deliberate taking back property that you feel has been taken from you in whatever capacity. When you loot, when you take a TV from Best Buy, it's like, you know what? Fuck this. You've taken so much from me. I'm going to take a little bit of something for myself. And that's kind of what like writing is. And it looks horrible and it looks bad and people shit talk them all the time. But it's like, dude, these are essentially disenfranchised people who have felt for so long that nobody will listen to them. They have zero voice. They have no control over their own lives at this point. That this is the only thing that they can do, that they can truly feel in control of. You have to at least listen. You have to at least look at this and dissect it a little bit.
Yeah,
and figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
so now that we're older, I'm a little more empathetic. I was not like this in high school for sure. I mean, in college,
No.
so it was a
No,
lot
not at
different. Way more conservative than I am now, for sure. But now that we're getting a little older, getting a little bit more, what do you say, softer, I guess, a little more empathetic.
Softer.
I wouldn't say softer, empathetic.
But we're also still conservative in some ways. We're not full blown, one way or the other. We're pretty. You and I ride the line. We're on the fence
sure.
on a lot of things.
Yeah, I think like if there's a fence and there's two people on either side of the fence like yelling at each other, I think you and I just open the gate and walk to whichever side we think is right at that time. If they're talking about one thing, we'll just open the gate and walk to the other side.
Yeah.
Whereas those two guys will never cross that fence. We can just walk through the gate. And like I'm conservative in a lot of ways, but I'm very liberal in a lot of ways. And we're fine to pick and choose what we want, because you don't need to be one or the other. It's not a fucking, I don't know. It's not like Go Dog Go or some shit. Like,
Yeah.
You got to pick one. Why do you got to pick one?
Exactly. Life is way more complicated than that.
Like all of these things essentially boil down to an oppressive government that makes us feel like we need to fight each other when we should be fighting the man.
Exactly. Yes.
At all times.
You're right. I agree
times.
with you 100% on that one. It's this constant divide, and it's very little of anything else. And honestly, it's not just the government and politics. It's the media and how much they're paid to say certain things and do certain things, and it's disgusting. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of like lays back and it just kind of accepts it. Oh, it's the way she goes. The way she goes, boys. But
I know. It's
annoying.
it's so embarrassing.
Fuck critical thinking. Fuck thinking at all, just
It's so
listen
fun
to
to
us.
it's so fun to be a bartender and then have like people sit next to each other, and especially now with like the vaccinations and the anti-vaxxers, and be able to be there in the middle and be like, why do you hate this guy, and then why do you hate this lady, and then finally be like, you guys both realize that no matter what, you should be hating the government at any point in your life. Like, nobody likes the government. Like, why are we hating? Why are we fighting each other? Bringing people together, baby. It's like Dr.
That's what you do. That's what you do at your. Oh, never mind.
No, that is what I do. I just make fun of everybody and how they're all terrible
everybody,
people and they should be hating the government. Yeah, let me ride.
All right, so let me ride. That's our one bang, our 1B.
Our 1B.
So, what do you got for your number? Oh, your number 2 was Nothing But a G Thing, right?
Yeah, Nothing But a G
Okay.
Thing.
So my number 2 is Fuck with Dre Day.
Fuck with Dre
Second
Day.
song.
That's my
This
3D.
is oh, there we go. We're pretty much on point on this episode as well, which is nice. This one, it's the perfect transition from the intro to this song. It's just introducing a lot of that P-Funk sound again, or the G-Funk, I guess you could say. And it just really kind of lays into that. It gives you it's the starting point of this record. It gives you it sets you up for what you're going to hear on the record for the most part. And I love it. I think it's just a great opener, a great opening to an amazing record. But it's very much of that G-Funk. But what do you got on this one?
Okay, so do you have the actual intro, The Chronic? Do you have that as a banger?
Well, I mean, it goes hand in hand with the second song.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I didn't put the first song, The Chronic, as a banger because you can't do that because it doesn't stand alone as its own song really. It's only great when you transition into the second song.
Okay, I got you. That's kind of what I felt too, because I do think The Chronic, the intro is just, it's so fucking good. But I think it's better because it transitions into Fuck with Dre Day. But yeah, I think Fuck with Dre Day is a weird concept. You're taking like heavy funk sounds that are sort of in like major keys, and they're not they're like rarely flat, right, or ever in like minor or anything, and they're always like in major, and they always sound at least pleasant. Then you're making a very aggressive, hard gangster song from them, and I think that's bizarre. And obviously like the Atomic Dog jam thing that they're going on here, and this is like the first time you've heard Snoop, it's like, wow, if this is your introduction to Snoop, it's so fucking cool. You think, who is this guy? And he's from Long Beach. He's not even from LA. And like this whole LA feud and thing, and this guy coming up from Long Beach, and oh my God, it's just so goddamn cool. And he was just so smooth. He was so rad. He still is really smooth and rad, but rhythm aside, he is still really smooth and rad, and a really cool guy that has never compromised anything ever in his life, because he's still the same person.
He's a great character.
He's like I feel like he's the same dude from when he recorded on the Chronic. He's probably never changed.
Yeah, definitely. But this album wasn't the first time he had collaborated with Dre. They did do his song just for like 2 months or maybe a month prior to the release of this record. I can't even remember the name of the song, but he wasn't brand new. But I feel like the proper introduction to Snoop Dogg or Snoop Doggy Dogg was The Chronic, was these first two songs. This perfectly shows his capabilities and what he does best on these two songs, or this entire record, honestly. But
I'll never forget I like to tell a story because it's funny. But when I worked at Knott's, I kind of met Snoop Dogg, because he was in Camp Snoopy with his kid, and he was on the little Ferris wheel. And I worked at Knott's when I was like
so weird,
18 or something, or like 17 or 19 or 18, or I think it was 17.
Yeah, something like. I think you were still in high school, right?
Yeah, because I got paid $6.75 an hour.
School, yeah.
So whenever the fucking minimum wage was $6.75 an hour, I was probably like 16 then.
Yeah, probably.
Because I only worked, whatever. He was on the little Ferris wheel Camp Snoopy with his kid, and I remember walking back with my trainer, or my lead, or whatever you fucking call her, and we're going back to the break room to like have lunch, and I was like, oh, is that Snoop? And then as she was telling me that it's not policy for us to like to interact with like celebrities, I just like yelled out. I was like, hey, Snoop, like, as loud as I fucking could. And he just turns to me, looks at me, and just says, puts his hands up like he's going to know, and says, bow, wow, wow. And that was it.
Oh, my God, no way.
Didn't say another fucking word. I just kept walking, just laughing. And I remember my trainer looking at me, and you could tell she was smiling, but she was super irritated that like I clearly just interrupted her, trying to tell me that we should never interact with celebrities, and yelled at. I'm not going to pass up a chance to not yell, hey, Snoop. Not going to happen.
For $7 an hour, yeah.
Yeah, for $7. Fuck out of here. I don't remember what her name was. Fuck out of here, Maria. I'm not fucking passing it up, bitch.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is so good.
She was actually really nice, though. I think her name was... Actually, I don't remember what her fucking name was, but she was actually really nice. I liked her a lot.
I've never met a rapper, ever.
You met Warren G?
I didn't meet Warren G.
You were there when I yelled his name, or when I talked to him.
Was
at NAMM? Yeah.
Was I? Are you sure I was there for Warren G?
The only guy I've ever noticed at like NAMM, besides Patrick Wilson from
You're right. No, you're right. I remember now. Yeah, you recognize Warren G. Yeah.
Oh, so excited.
I do remember that now. Yes, you did. Because I was like, oh, that's so and so. That's that. Oh, like, let's go talk to them. And you're like, I don't know. I don't. Is that really what they look like? But yeah, you did Warren G. I was like, I have no fucking clue.
Regulators, man. Come on. So good.
You did. Wow, I totally forgot about that.
I remember he's just walking by himself, and the dude, iconic West Coast hip hopper. Part of the 213 was Snoop and fucking Nate Dogg.
Wait, was it Warren G or Nate Dogg that you met?
Warren G.
Was it Warren G? Okay.
Nah.
Wow, man, what a time! What a time to be alive, huh?
Yeah,
All right, should we play a little bit of Fuck with Dre?
Oh yeah, we didn't play. Let's get back to it. Yeah, good.
Right. Yeah, let's play this right now from the Dr. Dre's, Snoop Dogg's. Yeah. There you go. Fuck with Dre Day.
Dude, just the way Snoop comes into after Dre is just so aggressively coming after Easy, right? And then Snoop just comes in and is like, hey, bow wow wow, yippee-yo, yippee-yay, what's going on?
You couldn't get more chill than that. Like the complete opposite of Dre. It's great.
He's like the guy when like two people are having a very heated argument and then he somehow immediately calms it down, which is like, hey, let's go have a drink. And then everything's just okay. Like that's it.
You're right. Yeah.
So good. He's so cool.
Is great. I love it. And then lyrically on this one, to me, it's just kind of like it's talking about the two of them sticking together, or really just their crew sticking together. And there's a lot of dissing of Eazy-E and just other people. A little bit of Ice Cube, even though Ice Cube they became friends again right after this record came out. But there's some disses against him. But
yeah, I mean, so like Ice Cube left NWA first. He was the first to realize like the dude Jerry Heller was essentially working for Eazy, and people love Eazy, and I love Eazy too, love him.
I don't get it.
Like my favorite rapper from NWA. I love his delivery. I love the way he sounds. I love everything about him.
The worst rapper, but yeah, you talk shit on Snoop Dogg. That makes zero sense. It makes zero sense.
And Eazy wasn't even supposed to be a rapper either. That was like Dre was trying to get Eazy to come up and read rap Ice Cube's lyrics for Boys in the Hood, and it wasn't even supposed to happen like that. But yeah, it's what the fuck was I even saying here? Oh yeah, Ice Cube left NWA first, and they all hated Ice Cube, and then on NWA's next album, they were dissing Ice Cube, and Ice Cube was just like, dude, you're not paying me enough. Ice Cube's writing most of the words, most of the lyrics, most of the songs on NWA, and he's not getting paid his fair share, so he leaves, and then they shit talk him. And then Dre realizes that he's not getting paid his fair share, so he leaves, and he shit talks Eazy. But then he also kind of like disses Cube, and it's like, dude, hello, you fucking dumb. Like clearly the problem is Eazy, but not necessarily his fault because he's being taken advantage of by his shitty manager at the time. Like, dude, pick your battles, bro. Like these are your boys here. You grew up together. You know, you should still be friends. They all did make amends before Eazy died, so that's good. That's fine. That's good though. Because you don't want to be like the Fogerty brothers, right? Before Tom died, John never reconnected, and that's sad. So you never want to do that.
Do you think John really cared in the end?
Of course he cared. He says he cares, and that's sad. Yeah, absolutely. And now he has kids, and he talks about how like he doesn't ever want his kids to have that kind of split the way him and his brother had that split over stupid over fucking music. Like who cares?
Yeah.
Fucking music. You know what I mean? It's insignificant.
And I realized this week how stupid the entire like East Coast West Coast thing was, and just the fact that people just hated each other so much for shit that's so fucking dumb. Like they're fucking like children. They're fucking children. I mean, yeah, they kind of screwed each other over, but to come out with a diss track, that's stupid. It's one thing to be mad at somebody and be irritated with somebody or pissed off, but to come up with a diss track, it's stupid.
This is human behavior. This is human behavior. This is the reason why Green Street Hooligans was so popular, is because we're so infatuated with sports fans fighting other sports fans for a team that doesn't give a shit about you, right? Yeah. You're ready, like some of these firms are ready to die for people that don't give a shit about them. And it's same out here. Like Dodger fans will fight Giants fans. They will come to blows for a team that does not give a shit about them. And this is just human behavior. There's pride. But then when it comes to like, I don't know, having pride in your own I don't know, city or whatever, they'll still throw trash everywhere. They won't say anything when someone's being taken advantage of somewhere. They won't show up to the polls. They won't show up to like PTA meetings. They won't voice their opinions where it matters. But my God, fucking, I don't know, the Saints versus somebody else, they'll fight. They'll fight. Like, where's the pass?
Some might say that they're emotionally underdeveloped.
I mean, that's mentally underdeveloped. That's emotionally adequately developed. That's mentally underdeveloped. You're putting your emotions in the wrong spots.
Yeah, true.
There's regulars that come into my place of business, and there's a bar across the street called Fox's Cigar Bar, and it's a nice place. But there's certain days that the regulars that come into my place won't go to Fox's Cigar Bar because there are other regulars there that they fucking hate. And I say, what do you mean, like, hate? Like, you don't like me? They know I fucking hate them. Like, every time I see them, I want to fight them. I said, why? I don't know. I don't remember. And it's just this, like...
Are you serious?
I swear to you. It's this fucking, like, Hatfield and McCoy thing. It's just... I've hated them for so long that I just need to continue hating them for no other reason than they now hate me because I hate them because they hate me. I said, dude, this is so fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And that's what this beef was between the East Coast and the West Coast. It was perpetuated by, and there's nothing wrong with like friendly rivalry. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think it's good for whatever business you're in. I think it's great. But to hate somebody for music, like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
This means nothing.
And to hurt each other, kill each other over something. It's even more ridiculous.
Yeah, like literally the killing of people.
Yeah.
I mean, Tupac got shot before he got shot again and died. 50 Cent got shot 9 times. Fucking survived. Yeah. My God. Oh, dude. Then like just Dre starting Aftermath. Yeah, I want to talk about how great Dre is, right? So Dre discovers Eminem, arguably like one of the hottest rappers of all time, if not one of the top 5 rappers of all time. Starts Aftermath. He discovers like Eminem. He signs 50 Cent. And I know you're like not a big 50 Cent guy, but dude, Get Rich or Die Trying, fucking phenomenal album. The Game.
Only because Dre produced it. That's why.
No, 50 Cent is a fantastic rapper. He's got fucking fantastic flow. He writes really good lyrics. His singing voice sometimes is not like a singing thing, but it's more of like a talking with varied pitch type of thing. But it's got like a hard edge to it because he was shot like the fucking mouth, and he kind of slurs his speech a little bit. And like the dude was like drug dealing in middle school. Like he's been like selling cokes and crack since middle school because they inner city they sell crack, not cocaine, because that's why we buckle down on them. The crack versus cocaine thing. It's God, dude, what a horrible system.
Crack is cheap. Crack is whack.
What a horrible system that you get caught with crack and you're fucking basically done forever. You get caught with cocaine. Oh, you must be a white person that has some money. Oh, don't worry about it. You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
it's
sir.
It's fucked up.
It's
and then you read more about like the crack epidemic and how a lot of that was,
planted.
It was planted, intentional. It's so fucked, man. But let's keep trusting our government,
I know.
Keep trusting them.
Oh my God.
Let's keep doing it, man. Because they haven't screwed us before, right? I mean,
they're
the IRS
like
being the biggest racketeering thing in the world.
I know. Like today I just saw somebody post. Actually, it was the guy that started in Eureka, that show Eureka. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, cancel culture. Why don't we go after the IRS next? And I was like, ooh, that'd be nice.
True, man. Yeah. Never gonna happen.
No.
If you don't get the media with you, it's not gonna happen.
No, because the IRS has the most strong arm tactics of all, but they're so on the back burner that it's never going to happen.
Yep, never ever.
Fuck with Dre Day.
So what do you got? Oh, your 3B was
Fuck with Dre Day.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
Should we? I mean, we've been going for a little while now. Do you want to? What more do you want to talk about? Should we wrap it up? What do you think?
Let's just, like in rapid fire, go through these songs.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, but I mean, I don't want to make this a 4-hour podcast.
Realistically, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that we were going to talk about how much we hate authority in general, and in that sense. What about D's Nuts? Is D's Nuts a banger?
It's not a banger for me. I mean, obviously the opening part of it is funny because D's Nuts.
Yeah,
but otherwise, the song is whatever to me. I do like that. Shout out to Colin Wolfe again. He added so much to this record. I never even knew who he was until this week, reading about him. But he was very, very significant to the making of this record, just as much as Dre was. But he gets no credit. That's wild to me.
I think that's Suge. I think that's 100% Suge. Because Dre is not scared of asking for help, and that's what makes Dre so great. Is he constantly has people helping him do things, rap, write stuff. He's never shied away. He's never denied it. He's always given credit where credit is due. I think that was a Suge thing of trying to make Dre the poster child for Death Row. And when the Chronic blew up and was an instant success, Suge used that as, hey, you can come work with this guy, and with Strong Arm Tactics also. He said, hey, come sign with me and you will be great also like him. Check out Dre. He did this by himself. I think that's more Suge thing, is to make this album a Dre album rather than a Dre and Friends album.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because I know I never really knew that Snoop Dogg was on so much of this record as well. This could easily be like a Dre and Snoop record, like a collaborative record, like what Jay-Z and Kanye did 10, 11 years ago. I mean, and not only them, but just a lot of other people have done that. But that was just a big example of it. But yeah, it's wild that this is only credited as Dre, but there were Snoop and Colin Wolfe were, I think, the two biggest contributors on this record. Like without a doubt, those two were. I don't get as much credit.
I think no matter what is the reason why Dre gets so much credit, and it's just because of like the same thing with a head coach in any major sport. Like this, it's all about matchups. Like who's going to work with who really well. Like RZA with Wu-Tang, he knows who is going to work with who really well on a song that sounds like this. He knows everybody's strengths. He knows their weaknesses. He knows how to pull things from people. And I think Dre, even though he's not, I don't think he's as good as RZA as far as pulling things out of people. Dre's more of a productionist. And
he is. Like,
I just
he's
think
more
that
about
he
the
knows
sound and the beat. Yeah,
he just knows who to put with who at what spots, and he's a master at that, and it fucking shows because over and over and over again, album after album after album, and then the whole Beats by Dre thing, and then he sold into Apple for a shit ton of money,
like $1 billion. Yeah,
Apple's not just some mom and pop fucking store, you know what I mean? It's Apple.
It's
they don't
one of the
they
biggest
don't just
companies in the world.
they don't just buy things if they don't think it's the best of the best. And to buy Beats by Dre is with all of Dre's history, and we're not going to go into all of the horrible things Dre has done over the course of his life, but to buy something from a bad man like Dre, who kind of continues to be kind of a douchebag, but to buy something for that amount of money from a guy who could easily just be canceled almost any day now is that's impressive. This guy knows his shit. He fucking knows his shit.
Kind of fun, kind of interesting how a guy who has had such a history, same with Snoop Dogg, they've had such a history. Neither of them have been canceled in modern days, but they could easily have been. But there's too much money within their corporations that there's no way it's ever going to happen. Never, ever going to happen.
No. Even all the women that Dre has beat up until this point in his fucking life, even just saying that phrase is just how is this guy even still relevant in any capacity? They almost died earlier this year. Remember? He had the fucking
he had the stroke.
Brain aneurysm or some shit earlier this year. He almost died. And then his house got robbed as he was in the hospital.
Oh, that's right. It did. I totally forgot about that.
Within a day, dude. Somebody tried to break into his house and steal all his shit. Somebody's waiting for him.
Well, yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's why it's what I do with work now. when it comes to that kind of shit, it's like people think, oh, you're in a high end area, you're never going to get broken into. But those are the people that get broken into the most, because those are the people that actually have fucking shit to steal, not a $20 TV.
Yeah, if I'm gonna go to if I'm gonna go to jail for burglary, I'm gonna go for the gold.
Yeah, exactly. It's stupid.
And the last one I want to talk about again is Little Ghetto Boy. So this one, there's a fun fact about this one. There's a fun fact about this one. The flute that you hear in that is by
what was that?
Some dude named Catisse Buckingham.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of him, and I never even really paid attention to the flute until this week. And it's cool. It's oddly like well placed. It's fucking weird.
But you only really notice it, and you don't really notice it until the end when there's the flute solo for like a minute and a half at the very end of the song. Otherwise, it's pretty subtly just kind of placed within the song.
Dude, I honestly I noticed it like right away, and I thought like, when the fuck was there? How have I missed this flute for so many years? Why is there a flute in gangster rap?
Well,
and then I looked at this guy.
I think it might be because you're already used to like having the high melody with the synth. So when you hear another higher sounding, higher octave instrument like the flute, like you're subconsciously, I feel like you're kind of just accepting it because it's not out of the norm. But then when you have it a solo going on for the last minute of the song, it's a little.
That's fair. That's true. That's probably like exactly what happened. But yeah, the guy Catisse Buckingham, he's played with a ton of musicians in like the LA area, like Miles Davis, fucking Prince, just honestly hundreds of musicians. But more recently, something that he's notable for. Remember in Anchorman when Ron Burgundy plays the flute on stage at the club, and he's like, I wasn't prepared for this, and he pulls the flute out of his sleeve.
Yeah.
The guy that actually plays the flute for that is Catisse Buckingham.
No shit.
Who played flute on this album. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
That's so stupid.
This guy
but
goes
he's
from
clearly
fucking...
an accomplished studio musician, session musician.
Yeah, and if you go to his website, like it's so like WordPress-esque. It's just so basic, and he lists off like all the people he's played for, and like, holy shit. Like, dude, your website should be way more, I don't know, professional, I guess, than this, because of the people you've played with, the iconic legends he has played with.
Does he have like a Wikipedia, or is it just kind of like his own thing that he's made?
It's just his own website. There's no link on Wikipedia. There's not even like a hyperlink where you could go to like the article that it's derived from. It's just he's listed as a person. And I checked the record too. Like he's listed as a person. But yeah, he played fucking flute solo in Anchorman. It's so stupid and so cool.
It's so bizarre. That's cool though. I really like that. But otherwise, Little Ghetto Boy is a good song. It's my 8B, but it's still a banger.
Yeah.
It's a slower kind of beat, but it still has that like that signature kind of Dr. Dre bass line. It's unique to the song. It's I don't want to say catchy, but it catches your attention. That's for sure. It's great. It's really, really great. But the flute stands out a lot.
And the last thing before I'm totally good is Bitches Ain't Shit. Is that a banger for you?
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's not a banger for me.
Why?
I don't think it's good. I honestly don't think it's good. I think
it's my 4B. It's my 4B.
I think like that Ninja Daz, I think his verse is damn good. I think it's fucking phenomenal. It's flippant and cocky in just like the best ways. Otherwise, dude, this song is it's so outdated and not even like funny anymore. And it's just like literally the epitome of womanizing in the 90s. And it's so difficult to listen to.
Yeah, it's a little rough. And also sequencing wise, to put it as the last song, I think is terrible. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think because also I only listened to this album this week on vinyl. So I listened to the album 4 times on the vinyls, and by this time I'm pretty done. I'm pretty checked out. So maybe that's also why I think this is not a banger. If this was like the 4th track, I'd probably feel differently. And it's just,
Yeah,
I mean, it's an iconic song. Love or hate it, it's an iconic song.
If it was a mid-range song, like maybe track 7, that would be good sequencing right there. Because you've done the P-Funk stuff. You've kind of like dabbled in a little bit of other things, but then you bring it back into this. You know, it would be good in like track 7, maybe track 8.
This is fucking 55 minutes later. We're getting into bitches ain't shit. Good Lord.
Bitches ain't shit but good people.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's so dumb. It's like your yearly Facebook post that you do, like fucking once a fucking year, out of nowhere, with no rhyme or reason
context,
whatsoever.
No context at all. Yeah, every couple of years I'll repost that. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. Love it. Hella.
I've still never like listened to anything that they've done. So
yeah, Hella is. I don't think you would like them at all. I really don't think you would like them at all.
That's why I've never listened to it.
Yeah, they're very, very, very math rock, and no vocals, all instrumental. But the drummer Zach Hill, fucking killer fucking drummer. But yeah, whatever. We're not talking about Hello. We're talking about Dr. Dre. So, what are your final thoughts? And let's rate the record. We have a 3-point rating system, or let's rate the record, not rank it. Let's rate the record with our world famous rating system, where 3 is a perfect album. 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to. 1 is a bad album, but give it a shot. And 0 is just fucking a trash fire. So what do you got?
Go? Or
go.
We didn't say go, so I didn't know what to do.
You know, I thought you were smarter than that, but that's okay.
Well, you always say go. Consistency is the foundation of greatness, kids. So let's keep it up. Okay. This week has been really fun. It's been really exciting. It's been a lot of hip hop this week, and I'll probably continue into next week along with the Green Day listen through. But I mean, not in a but, like in a negative way, but
like.
At this point, like it's been so long, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore.
It's fine. We talked about a lot of shit. Final thoughts.
I think 90s era of hip hop was so diversive, and there's a lot of stuff on here that I can hear like influence from Tribe, and there's a song on here that I can hear influence from the Far Side, which the Far Side came out like 2 months before this came out. And there's a specific part in this album that I was like, dude, this sounds exactly like a fucking Far Side song. So there's a lot of like really cool influence, and that's kind of like what hip hop is. It borrows, it takes a little bit from other things, it puts it together and makes something entirely new. Mm-hmm. And that's also like the reason why people shit on it so much, is because they're not playing instruments and you're taking shit from everybody else and making something. But like that's what music is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you're fucking Blind Lemon Jefferson or Son House, like you're stealing something from somebody else and making it something new. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, you can't tell me like jazz music is original. Like you're taking from
the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Lawrence Welk, God, dude, Lawrence Welk is your god. Get out of here. But the 90s was just a really weird time for music. There was a lot of things going on in the 90s, and just politically, musically. And I think The Chronic came out and was just like, hey, don't forget about us. And not just like hip hop, not just like black folk, but also just people that felt like they didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
And even though The Chronic, the lyrically, I think is just very much like, here's my life, here's how I live it. I think in doing so is giving them a voice, is giving people that felt disenfranchised, giving people that felt like nobody gave a shit about them, giving them a voice. And I think that's I don't think that was its intended purpose, but I think that's why it's so revered from anybody. Even Connie fucking like loves this record. Thinks it's one of the greatest of all times. Like everybody loves this fucking record because it is so goddamn good. And I think it's because production wise it's unmatched. It's like you said.
I think it's one of the best, if not the best.
It's one of the best sounding records like of all fucking time.
Yeah.
It's so fucking fantastic. But just like what it did for music in the 90s also, I think for hip hop specifically, what it did is historic. It's great. And I absolutely love this record. To damn, it's hard because this is a tough one because I want to give it a 3, but some of these skits are just so bad.
Yeah, skits are rough, man.
Man, they're so bad. I think because of the doctor skit alone, if that was out, I could do a 3. But because of the doctor skit alone, I think it's just such a low hanging fruit. Anything to deal with like just sex like that in such a upfront way, I think it's just such low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And because of that, this is 2.9. I'm gonna give it 2.9.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
2.9. I cannot in the right mind give it a 3 because of that skit.
That's fair. That's very fair.
But damn, this album is fucking good, and damn, did it do something for hip hop and just like society, to be honest, straight up.
Yeah, and with so kind of going into my final thoughts and kind of piggybacking off what you just said, a lot of people cite NWA as like the turning point in hip hop, but I don't feel that way. I feel like the Chronic is the proper turning point because yeah, NWA did something so different. But they did something so different that nobody was ever really able to replicate, or anybody was. Some people took influence on it, but they took more influence on the Chronic, both songwriting, both DJing, and then throw the production on top of it. I mean, yeah, the production on that NWA record, those 2 NWA records are great, but they're nothing on the Chronic. Like the Chronic is the pinnacle of production in hip hop. Like nothing sounds better. To me, at least. I mean, I haven't heard everything, obviously, but I mean, just sonically, this record is just unbelievable. It's absolutely insane, and this record is, to me, is way more influential than NWA ever was. They just said They said some very provocative things, and they kind of ushered in a new style, but a very, very short-lived, very, very short-lived style of music. But what the Chronic setup was way more. It had a lot more longevity stylistically, and I think this record is just it's unbelievable. It's honestly, it's unmatched, and every artist has taken some sort of influence from it, whether it be underground hip hop, pop, any sort of pop hip hop, or whatever you want to call it. Everybody has taken influence from this or has been influenced by this. So I'm not going to go over a lot of the political stuff behind this and the riots because we already talked about that. But with our 3-point rating system, I'm going to have to give this a 2.8 because the skits, I fucking hate skits. They're usually always terrible. They're terrible. But then some of the album's just too long.
Yeah.
The album could easily have been cut down to 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. Take out a couple songs, take out some like outros and because some of the songs are just, there's too much of like an extra like minute and a half of just whatever, just like the beat going, which could be cool. Like if you're, within the scene and you're kind of like putting your own rhymes on top of it, that's cool. But when you're looking at the cohesiveness of an album, some of the songs are just way too long. And the album in general is too long. So that's why I give it a 2.8. But outside of that, I mean, sonically, it is one of the greatest sounding records of all time. And within any genre, but especially hip hop. So it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh, that's a fair point. Like if you said that to any hip hop head, they're not going to immediately say, "What are you talking about? Fuck, there's no way." It's hard to argue otherwise. It really is.
I mean, it's not to say that it's bad. Like the extra long songs are bad, but it's just not necessary. But I guess if you are making your own kind of rhymes to the beat, I could see that being like a cool thing for you. But yeah, whatever. Who the fuck am I? I'm just this guy on Asinine.
Fuck am I? Huh?
This fucking guy over here.
Yeah.
But do we have anything else to say about this one?
Nope. That's all I gotta say about that.
That's all you got to say about that. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to the podcast. I thought the music was going to start, but there we go.
There it is.
Thank you all for listening to the podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. Outros and intros are boring, obviously. So that's it. That's all.
Nothing but G-Tang and chicken wang.
It's good.
Sorry, rap. Fact.
Okay.
Facts. So I got a lot of
Okay.
facts for you tonight, kid. You can blow your mind.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Yeah.
You gave your tarp up on your bed because your mind's gonna get blown all over your bed. Get blood
That
and
was the
guts all over.
stupidest
You
thing you ever said.
can get blood and guts all over your bed from your mind. Guts in your mind. Fucking guts in your mind. What? Oh, it's so stupid.